Yesterday, we were actually in Dumbo, Brooklyn, and we walked all the way from Dumbo across the Brooklyn Bridge to Lower Manhattan, and then back to Midtown. But today we are starting off outside the very famous 432 Park. Now, it was a pretty eventful day in the market. We got some pretty big pieces of economic data out today. I'd say most notably, the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index was out today. Now, if you want to receive that, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. So if you see a link in the chat, it should be highlighted in yellow. It'll say data.sca.isr UMich, and that is the physical report. Now, it's interesting because consumer sentiment actually declined this month. The University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report came in at 76.5. That was down from 76.9 in February, and it was also under expectations of notable economists on the street. Now, it's interesting because, is it that, these readings aren't as if consumers are negative, but you would think consumers would be a little bit more upbeat, being that unemployment is at all-time record lows. You have pretty much all three major equity indices trading at record levels. We just received data in terms of retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, breaching new all-time record highs in terms of the balances on retirement accounts. So you would think consumers would be a little bit more upbeat. Now, I know inflation is still running hot. We talked about that at length. We got the consumer price index out that came in well above expectations, coming in at 3.2%, well above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. But one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is I think the election year, I really, really do believe the election year is just putting a big drag on everybody, right? Nobody likes to talk about politics. You have super turbocharged opinions on both the right and the left. You have people that can't stand Joe Biden. You have people that love him. You have people that hate Trump. You have people that love him. And I think people are just kind of going crazy going into the election year. So maybe that is skewing a little bit of the sentiment, and that actually may be bullish for stocks. We'll talk about why. In terms of the stock market today, I believe we're just entering, I should say, phase one of the brand new bull market pullback. I spent a lot of time today going through charts. We're going to do a lot of that on Sunday. I'm going to carve out like 5 hours and just sit down at the computer and really, really hammer away. But you're starting to see a lot of those true market leaders, right, in the leading sectors, particularly semiconductors. So ticker symbol SOXX is starting to pull back down to the 50-day moving average. A lot of those mega cap tech stocks pulling back to the 50-day. And you've already seen punishment in some of the previous leaders, such as Tesla and Apple. So a little bit of a potential relief rally in those names going into next week and throughout the spring, and then a rotation out of some of the names that are trading at new highs. So we'll monitor this. I think this is important. We'll talk about small caps. We'll talk about mid caps. Gold, still trading near record highs. Last time I checked the price of gold, $2,155 an ounce. Also silver, trading at about $25.17 an ounce as well. So we'll talk about that and more tonight on Walks in Wall Street. But before we get started, everybody, just go ahead and check your email. Okay, everybody, go ahead and check your email, because I just sent out last night our Behind the Street newsletter. And we veered a little bit off course. We talked about some fiscal policy as opposed to monetary policy all the time. So if you want to receive all of our free equity research, and you want to read our latest research report that we just put out, go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, and you'll receive the link to our Substack. We did a deep dive into the inflows in terms of the U.S. Treasury as well as the outflows. The United States brought in about $120 billion worth of income taxes just last month in February, but we spent about $76 billion to service the interest on our debt alone. That's going to have severe ramifications for not only the market, but the economy going forward. We then talked about inflation. We did a deep dive into the CPI report. And then we spoke about energy. Crude oil is starting to make a move again above $80 a barrel. It looks like the XLE, which is the Spiders ETF that tracks the energy sector, that is very heavily weighted towards ExxonMobil and Chevron. Those two big oil and gas companies make up over 40% of the entire ETF. They're on the move again. Will we see $100 a barrel crude oil this summer? I don't know. Maybe, we'll see, and that's not going to help inflation at all. So as we go on to talk about monetary policy at the next FOMC meeting, which is going to be on the 20th, so next week, big decisions are going to need to be made from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. All right, let me go ahead and close up the laptop here, everybody, and we will go ahead and say hello to everybody in the chat and get this stream started. Once again, we do publish all of our free research every other Thursday, right at the market close. So it's a great free way to support the channel and stay up to date on the markets by subscribing to our newsletter. Hold on, I got to untangle the microphone here for a second. Give me a minute. No matter how many times I untangle this microphone and prepare, it always seems to be in a big knot. Maybe I'll have to invest in getting a wireless mic. Anyway, not to bore you guys with all that nonsense, happy Friday. Happy Friday indeed, team. I see the AUS Fly Girl. What's going on? I see Chris from Los Angeles. Welcome, Chris. We are back to our original spot. 432 Park Avenue. It feels like home, right? Now, it was another picture perfect day in New York. It did rain for about 15 minutes, but then, the rain clouds pulled out of here, and it was just an absolute gorgeous day in New York. You could just see the depth and the sheer size of 432 Park right here. But let's head to Hell's Kitchen again, because it's Friday and I think Hell's Kitchen is going to be a lot of fun. DC 322, that's not a good gig, right? We also had Macy's, right? Big box retailer Macy's come out saying that they're closing stores, shuttering stores, and a lot of other, I should say, drugstores too, right? Remember way back in the day, Rite Aid came out and announced that they're shuttering stores in major cities because of all the theft. That's a big problem I think we're going to have to solve. Yeah, so speaking of the Dollar Tree, there was a lot of that. Let me turn off my Wi-Fi. Hey, Sharon is here. What's going on? Thanks so much for joining us. Soho Joe, welcome. Ivan Hernandez, Stan, Gary Carpenter. Let me know if you guys can hear me now. I think I had my Wi-Fi on, so maybe I was trying to connect to my Wi-Fi in the office. Who knows? Caleb says, oh, you're talking about at Gramercy North, Unit 14? Unit 14 has not been sold yet. We just sold Unit 2. So Unit 12, 14, and 15 are still on the market. And then we will have achieved a complete sellout at Gramercy North. Hey, TC, what's going on? Thanks so much for being here. What we're looking at right now is the Four Seasons Hotel that's set to open yet again pretty soon. New York City's Billionaires Row looks quite fantastic tonight. Let's go past the Tiffany building. You have the Aston Martin residences here. And then this is Park Avenue looking all the way down by the MetLife and Grand Central Station. Now, on Sunday, we're really going to do a deep dive, and I actually may have to send out another newsletter for this because I think this is a very, very important time in the market, I believe. You're starting to see things pull back, which is what you want. Big churn day on the NASDAQ, very, very big churn day. This is now 6 distribution days on the NASDAQ, 5 on the S&P. So I think we'll fall into correction here, but this is good. Right, this is kind of where the opportunity number 2 happens. So I think I'm going to do a complete audit of all the TMLs. We're going to calculate the percent away from their 50-day or respective 200-day moving averages. And usually what you'll see is institutions coming in here and supporting these stocks at those major moving averages. And that'll kind of give you a sense of the institutional sponsorship on the street. We did have an interesting, I should say, example of that, which was Google or Alphabet. If you look at ticker symbol GOOGL, now that stock was getting hammered, for the past, I should say, 2.5 weeks, because Alphabet's AI chatbot, right, Gemini, apparently it's woke. Right? I'm not giving my opinion on it. I'm just telling you the news. So the woke chatbot, not a lot of people were happy about it, and the stock was getting hammered. However, it corrected directly to its 50-day moving average, and it caught a lot of support, which tells us that it's quite possible that this big shake, a lot of weaker hands, disgruntled investors just blew out the stock, but it seems like smart money is accumulating it again, and smart money is telling the market that Google or Alphabet is going to fix this problem, right, of the quote-unquote woke AI chatbot. So I think the team will do that accordingly. Yeah, Western Mass Dave says yes, Gemini goofed up. Apparently they did in a major way. The good thing is, software engineers can work on fixing that, and I'm sure they will, right? I'm sure they'll make those proper adjustments. Shareholders, board members, do reach out when things aren't going the appropriate way in the company, and they do vote with their money. I like to make this comparison. It's not necessarily an appropriate comparison, but similar situation. Right, that happened with Meta. Meta, they grew their employee size way too fast. There was a lot of duplicity within the organization. It wasn't run very well. It was very sloppy. Tons of corporate bloat, and investors really punished the stock in a big way. So much so that Mark Zuckerberg had to come out and publicly declare 2023 as the year of efficiency for the company. So, when they got to work, they turned it around. Now the stock's trading back at all-time record highs after being down 77%. So we'll see if this is just a temporary shake in Alphabet. Man, the wind is really picking up. It seems as if around the same time every night, the wind gets crazy over here, because all throughout the regular day it's not windy at all, but right at night it's like a wind tunnel. I don't have a jacket on tonight either. It was so hot I left my jacket at home. This is an awesome view of the Plaza Hotel, as well as 220 Central Park South. Joel PM says Google should just embrace it, give Gemini a logo with purple hair. Yeah. Well, I guess that's one of the main risks with a lot of these AI bots, right? It depends on who's programming them. I mean, some of the stuff that Gemini was saying was just flat out incorrect and just flat out false. Coming up now on the Apple Store right outside the GM building. This reminds me of the cube in Transformers. Anybody see that movie? That's what the Apple Store always reminds me of. You can see the Vision Pro goggles on the front. Now, Donald Trump, the former president, must be in town because look at all these police barricades here. I'm not too sure what this is for. Or maybe it's for the St. Patrick's Day parade. Do they even have a parade? I don't even know. I'm not a big St. Patrick's guy, even though I'm Irish. But look at all these barricades lining up all the way down Fifth Avenue. It must be for St. Patrick's Day, right? Anyway, hey, Peter says this coming week in New York will be in the 40s as a high and 30s in the low. Ah, that sucks. That really, really sucks. Well, you know when the seasons are transitioning from winter to spring, when you have this like really volatile transition, you'll have 70, then you'll have 60, then you'll have 30. I mean, it's like the New York City transition, as always. Oh wow, DC322 says yes, they will have it tomorrow. St. Patrick's Day is when? The 17th? I honestly couldn't even tell you when. I probably should know that, being that I am Irish, but here you have the Amman, New York right here. DM says the parade is Saturday. Nice. Maybe we'll go to it. Never been to it before. We'll see. Now, one of the things I wanted to, I guess, run past the chat here. Today we had the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment report come out. It came in below expectations, and it even came in less than last month. So consumer sentiment is on the decline. Now, no way, shape, or form are consumers super depressed, right? It's in the mid-70s. But you would think with all of the quote-unquote positive economic data we're getting out, with equity markets trading at new all-time record highs, you know, chances are if anybody here owns a home, you probably have a lot of equity in that home. You would think consumers would be a little bit more optimistic on the outlook of the economy. Now, for investors, this could actually be a pretty big bullish signal, right? Because you have this follow through, I should say, in the markets, S&P 500, NASDAQ, but you still have relative bearishness on the street, both in terms of, you know, directional bets on the market, but just overall muted consumer sentiment on their future, right? So it's interesting. Now, the question is the following. Do we think that we have muted consumer sentiment just because we are in an election year and everybody's going crazy, right? Obviously, everybody knows the breaking news. Donald Trump has now been selected as the Republican nominee. And I think people are just like taxed over the whole thing, right? I don't think anybody is super thrilled to go out to the polls and vote for Joe Biden or Trump, right? I don't think anybody is like super ecstatic about that. So maybe just the doldrums of the election year has got people kind of bracing and a little bit negative, which in a way, again, not to sound super repetitive, could be bullish long-term for this market. Wendy England says, I think it's just the overall state of the world. Maybe. Stance's election year is traditionally favorable for markets, so they say. Yeah, usually markets are positive in election years for sure. I believe it was 3 or 4 newsletters ago, we did a complete historical breakdown of S&P returns in election years and after election years, depending on, I shouldn't say depending, I should say under each administration, right? So if there was a Democrat in office or Republican in office, average S&P returns throughout all those different times. D says, you just want to get it over with? I think everybody is in that boat, for sure. We just passed the Plaza Hotel residences. Hey, Lance is okay, leaning Wall Street Hotel. Yeah, we walked past that yesterday. I think it's a really nice hotel. Plaza's really nice too. It's a little bit older. This is the entrance to the residences. If you own or rent in the building, you would go right here. Western Mass Dave says, I've been around a while and it's never been so dire, believe me. Yeah, and one of the things that I believe is exacerbating this whole thing is just how connected we are. Right? Think about, we literally see everything in real time. And not to get too political tonight, but I think it's important because this all ties in with the markets, right? Reason why we're talking about it is because the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report came out today. But could you guys imagine for a second, okay? I'm talking to all the Americans here. We have people from all over the world. But, I mean, could you imagine when we invaded Iraq, if we had smartphones, live streaming, broadcasts, and we didn't just get our news from the mainstream media? I mean, people would be losing their minds. I mean, like, you know, even go all the way back, think about Vietnam. Could you imagine if we had smartphones, if we had Twitter, if we had Facebook, you know, X, now Twitter X, YouTube? I feel as if things, since everybody is so connected and has a way of getting information out immediately with multiple viewpoints, number one, so my words don't get misconstrued, I think it's a positive, but I also believe that creates extreme anxiety amongst the populace. And I think that's why everybody's so negative, right? You can almost get analysis paralysis, access to too much information, right? Too many ideas, particularly in the investment business. I don't know, that's my theory as to why maybe everybody is so negative. Hey, the Mighty Bull, what's going on? Welcome to Central Park South. We just passed the Ritz-Carlton Hotel and Residences right here on 6th Avenue, or Avenue of the Americas. Poto says there's just way too much money in politics. Maybe. It's such a clear night out. You could see all the way down to the World Trade Center and Radio City Music Hall from here. For Arts as I'm watching BC Canada restricts New York news channels. Interesting. Vinny says you are right, filtering is a skill. Hey, Patrice 2020, thanks so much for joining us. This is the Ritz-Carlton. Love this building. Peter says information overload causes your brain to shut down. You lose perspective as a result. And I believe it prevents people from making decisions, right? I know I've told this story a million times, but it's very relevant. I think it's relevant to not only in the investment business, but you know, in your personal life and in your professional life at work. You can have so much access to information and consume all these videos from all these experts, right? And a lot of it, right, I would say the most viewed content is the most negative, right? Because that's what drives the most clicks, that's what drives all the headlines. The problem there is it makes you feel paralyzed, it makes you feel helpless, and it forces you, it makes you feel as if you can't make a decision, right? Oh, I'm gonna wait to start investing because the market's gonna crash again. Oh, I'm gonna wait to, buy this investment property because I think the real estate market's gonna crash because of this factor, that factor, this factor. And then what happens is 10, 20 years go by and you haven't made one decision, not even one, right? So life is about making a lot of calculated decisions, but with all of the information floating around out there, all these podcasts, all these macro people telling you the world's going to end, nobody makes a decision. And everybody's like, oh, I'll buy when it crashes, or I'll do this, I'll make this investment, or I'll apply for this job when my boss leaves, right? Everybody's negotiating themselves from a position of fear. And I used to do the same thing. I see it every day. And that's so dangerous, to negotiate from a position of fear. It's like analysis paralysis, and then you can't make any decision and you're paralyzed. Someone's just scared money doesn't make money. Yeah, it's the inability to make a decision, I guess. Peter says procrastination is one of the worst human traits. The time is never going to be right, ever. It's never, ever going to be right. That's such a good comment by Peter. This is the JW Marriott Essex House. Beautiful building. This is a 5-star hotel. There's no pool in here, though, but it's a stunning Art Deco building. It's one of the historic hotels of America. You can actually rent apartments in here and purchase apartments in the Essex House. And they're doing a full gut renovation on the lobby too. It's a beautiful hotel. Jimmy Boyle says most of us remember the 2008 crash. This time the situation is way worse. Yeah, I think just like things like that, right? Now, could you be right? Yeah. But, you know, I've been listening to, one day, yeah, there'll be a big crash. There'll be a big event that's not good, right? There'll be more COVIDs. There'll be more 9/11s, unfortunately, right? That cause these massive crashes in the market. But you got to be involved all the time. It's like you kind of have to get in the water, you know? Yeah, the water's cold, but once you jump in the water, you have that maybe 5-6 seconds of shock. It's so cold, but then it warms up. Then you get used to it. Now you're riding the waves. You're in the game. You got to be in the game, you know? Look at that. This is the New York Athletic Club. This is one of my favorite buildings here. Now, during the summer, they have all outdoor events here. It's just an amazing, amazing building right here on Central Park South. And that super tall is 157, West 57th Street. Then you have Carnegie Tower. I think it was Peter Lynch, right? That said more money has been lost in the market trying to anticipate corrections and crashes than the actual crashes themselves. I believe that was Peter Lynch. And Peter was the former mutual fund manager for Fidelity's Magellan Fund. This, my friends, is Alwyn Court. It's one of my favorite buildings in the entire city. Just an architectural marvel. It's absolutely gorgeous. You know, to Jimmy Boyle's point, he said, you know, a lot of us remember 2008. I think 2008 was so severe for so many people, unfortunately, that people have actually developed like a sort of PTSD, like a post-traumatic stress disorder, right? I'm not trying to be funny. I really do believe that from the 2008 financial crisis, and it's made a lot of people risk averse, which maybe isn't necessarily a bad thing. But those traumatic experiences can really dictate your future decision making. And you kind of got to find a way to push through that, because if you're not in the game making decisions, right, all these opportunities are going to pass you by. Since the lows of the 2008 financial crisis, we've had the greatest wealth creation event in the country's history since the lows of 2008. With, enterprise software boom, machine learning, cloud computing. And if you were on the sidelines for that, sitting in cash, not owning any of America's greatest companies because you were afraid that there's going to be a next other 2008, you would have missed out on huge opportunities. So it's not to say that you should just aimlessly buy anything. No, you should focus on the earnings. But the point is, you've got to make a decision. You cannot be paralyzed. You've got to always be constantly making decisions and moving forward. You can't be one of those people, who listens to these, fear, doom and gloom podcasts, and, they're ordering like canned food and MREs, and they have like hideout bunkers, and they're just waiting for everything to crash. Like, okay, if everything crashes and it's a world apocalypse, are you really going to be any better off in your cabin in the woods eating your baked beans in your can? No, I think that's a really crappy way to live. You got to be out in the world making real decisions, trying to innovate, build products and services, and be a participant, right? I think that's important. Hey, Pineapple Water, what's going on? Long time no see. We're standing outside of the Nordstrom building, which is Central Park Tower. And we have this really cool view of 432 Park with this big boom crane sticking out of the side. It's pretty wild, right? Another thing is, does anybody in the chat really think that humanity is going to be worse in 50 years? Like, is there, and I want to know, right? I don't want to just speak into a void of confirmation bias. Is there anybody in the chat that thinks life in the United States and globally is going to suffer degradation or decline over the next 50 years? Or do you think humanity is going to innovate and we're going to become a lot better? I like to think we're going to become a lot better. There's going to be more opportunities. Hey, Jack C., thank you so much for your very generous and extremely kind $50 donation. I appreciate you. Thank you for your support. And hopefully you have a fantastic weekend. You didn't have to do that, but thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it very, very much. Mark says, hey Tom, when are you going back to Florida? Hopefully soon, honestly. James says 44 years and I'm retired. I agree with your work ethic statement. Brendan O'Brien says lone wolves get taken out early in the apocalypse. Jeez. Brendan O'Brien says depends on application of environmental policies. Interesting. R2D2 says better. Yeah, I think it's going to be better. I mean, if we have Apple Vision Pros and all this crazy AI tech now, I mean, I think life is going to be significantly better in the future. There's going to be medical breakthroughs that we haven't even thought about yet. There's going to just be so much stuff. I mean, think about what life was like just 20 years ago. What we're doing right now wasn't even possible. Live streaming, walking around, 4G technologies, let alone 3G wasn't even here yet. If you wanted to watch a video, it's like, okay, which pixel are you looking at, right? So, now with this Neuralink, it's probably going to cure blindness. Blindness will probably be obsolete in 50 years. If you were unfortunately paralyzed in some freak car accident, that may be a non-issue in 50 years. Like, that just may be like an unfortunate thing that's happened to you, and it's a non-issue, right? I'm sure almost everybody in this chat right now has unfortunately ran into a scenario where, maybe a family member or a friend, or maybe you yourself watching this has had, some sort of crazy virus or cancer, right? I was watching this genomics podcast the other night that my brother sent to me, and there's scientists right now that think in 20 years' time, cancer will sort of just turn into this entity that you just get through in life, because the tech and the medicine and the treatments will be so effective that the survival rates, it's going to be that of, you just like getting a bronchitis or something, and you're down and out for 3 weeks, and the treatments are going to be so effective that it's just going to be like a common thing. It's not going to be like this devastating news anymore. And I really believe that. Think about what that's going to do for gross domestic product in the United States. It's going to be it's going to be unreal. So yeah, Dave says every decade we say the end is near. This is the Deutsche Bank Towers here, everybody, at Columbus Circle. Triple G, welcome. DA says, hey Tom, if you were back in time, what would you like to be doing? I always said I'd like to be, one of the original floor traders on the New York Stock Exchange, back before computers, back before tech, back before anything, right? When you were just literally running around on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, market making, trading, and having all that excitement. I think that's what I would want to be doing. I mean, now that's like that job is obsolete now, right? Because you have computers. I could just do it from my desk, at 575 Madison Avenue. But I think I would have liked the interaction with physical other traders down there. That's what I would have liked to be doing. Gary Carpenter says cancer will be obliterated in 30 years. I hope so, right? Please, fingers crossed. I don't doubt it. They're going to have technology, and there's actually some publicly traded companies out there that's working on gene editing, right? So where scientists will be able to come in, alter your genetic code, and make some, hereditary diseases, right? If it runs in the family, it'll just be obsolete because they'll just change your genetic code. There's so much crazy stuff coming down the pike. That's going to be a net positive for humanity. This is the Trump International Hotel and Tower, and it looks like it almost has 100% occupancy tonight. It only goes up to the 16th floor. Anything past the 16th floor is the residences. Yeah, CRISPR, I think, is, yeah, Frank. Frank says CRISPR gene editing. Think about what a huge breakthrough like penicillin was, right? Hey, Warrior says, hey Tom, what is your take on Murray Hill? I think Murray Hill's pretty good if you're just coming to New York and you're just starting your career, living with roommates, you're a young guy, young girl, whatever. Murray Hill's pretty cool. What, are you thinking about moving to Murray Hill? All right, everybody, let's take a look at the congestion pricing. Let's get a live Friday night update of the congestion pricing. Very fun. Mark says, Tom, did you hear what happened in Florida on the news, what they said? I did not hear what happened in Florida on the news, what they said. Would you like to tell us what happened? For Art says there's almost 1,000 people watching. Yeah, that's kind of crazy tech right there for sure. Look, I think there'll always be change, there'll always be disruption, and we need to have a reframe to, reframe it into a positive light, not a negative light. Oh wow, Warriors, I just moved here. We'll be attending Baruch College in the fall. That's an amazing school, my friend. Now, Bernard Baruch is a very, very famous, still is, the name Bernard Baruch, very famous stock market operator. The vast majority of people who attend Baruch want to have some sort of career in finance. It's a really good school. In my opinion, Baruch College is the best four-year college in the CUNY system, in my opinion. Great professors at Baruch College, by the way. Really, really good professors there. That's awesome, dude. Congratulations on your success. I'm happy for you. Frank's pessimism of the intellect, optimism of the will. Great old quote. So this is the very front of the Trump International Hotel and Tower, and you have three distinct doors here, okay? Door number one is the Jean Georges. This is a Michelin star steakhouse, very good. In door number two in the center, this is the hotel. So if you're staying here for the night or the weekend, that's where you would go. This is an unbelievable hotel, by the way. I love it. And door number three is where you would go if you own or rent inside One Central Park West. I've always said the following. If you have a unit that faces east, so you're looking over Central Park, I personally believe you have better views than if you were on New York City's Billionaires Row, for the following reason. You not only see all of Central Park unobstructed, but you can see every single building on Billionaires Row unobstructed. So you could see Central Park Tower, 220 Central Park South, 157, the Steinway Tower, 432 Park Avenue, right? You could see every single building on Billionaires Row and unobstructed views of the park. So you have the best of both worlds. I mean, if you're on the 100th floor of Central Park Tower, you can't really see Central Park Tower from Central Park Tower, right? So you have a more diversity of choice, I should say. Great form on that run, by the way. Great form. Kid was hauling. Good stuff. And another thing is, you're on the Upper West Side. On 57th Street, it is a little loud, right? I love Billionaires Row. I would love to live there one day myself. But 57th Street is a little bit loud, right? Here, you're on the Upper West Side where it's quiet. Poto says, Tom, can you please tell us about real estate taxes in New York? Yeah, what do you want to know about them? This is 15 Central Park West. Now, if you're buying something in New York City, let's say if you're buying in new development, right? So if you're buying in a brand new building, you have to pay the New York City transfer tax, the New York State transfer tax, and you have to pay a mansion tax. So let's say you're buying a brand new apartment for $1.5 million. Your New York City transfer tax is going to be about 1.4%. Then your New York State transfer tax is about 0.4%. And then your mansion tax is 1% of the entire purchase price. So before you even move in, right, before you even turn the lights on, I mean, those are like, what is that, like 30,000 or something, a little over 30,000 just in taxes alone before you buy it. So one of the things, if you're working with a good agent and you're looking at new development, you can negotiate hard and say, look, we're going to come in at full ask, but we want the sponsor to pay the New York City transfer tax, the New York State transfer tax, the mansion tax, and the attorney fees, right? And, a lot of, depending on who the developer is, right, and the success of their projects, how motivated they are to get deals done, you'd be surprised. A lot of them will negotiate with you and pay all those taxes for the buyer. I love this building, 15 Central Park. West. Beautiful building. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams almost every single night, starting at 8:30. This is a pretty cool view looking southbound into Columbus Circle. Mark says, Tom, they said that is year 2050 due to global warming, everything along the coast in Florida will be underwater due the global warming. What are your thoughts on that? I think it's awful. Yeah, I think that's awful too. I feel like I'm in a deja vu moment. A deja vu moment. I think I just answered an email on that question or something like that. Look, you know, we have to really understand the ramifications here. If the state of Florida is underwater by 2050, we're going to have a lot bigger things to worry about than real estate valuations. Okay, Florida is the 4th largest economy in the United States, and if the state of Florida is underwater, well, guess what? Right now we're walking on the island of Manhattan. Okay, I'll say that again, the island of Manhattan. That was, all lower Manhattan was completely submerged due to Hurricane Sandy. New York State is the 3rd largest economy in the United States. So if all of those crazy predictions, which are total BS in my view, if everything is underwater by 2060, you won't have to worry about your real estate valuations because it'll be Armageddon. Like, that's the end of the US. Florida is the 4th largest economy. New York is the 3rd largest economy. California, I think, is the 1st. Every single major city that everybody wants to live in and is super desirable throughout human history have been on waterways for obvious reasons, right? For commerce, for trade. You ever heard the story about the Nile River? They would build and make civilizations there because the Nile would flood and it was very fertile, right? The soil there. So every civilization throughout human history forever has been built on waterways for those reasons. So, yeah. I don't worry about things I can't control. I think that goes back to the narrative of, people that read these things. It's not to say that you shouldn't risk mitigate, right? We always talk about risk mitigating on the stream, particularly if you're purchasing property in Florida. You should buy in non-flood zones. And yes, there are non-flood zones in Florida. You should look for flood zone X, right? Particularly if you just look at the FEMA flood maps, you'll see it. But am I just gonna go hide under my bed and never do a real estate deal, never do a transaction, do no business? Because, some people that say that New York City and Miami are gonna be underwater in 50 years. No, I gotta throw my legs over the side of the bed. I gotta go to work. I gotta make money, and I can't worry about that. This is the Mandarin Oriental Hotel. Hey Carmen, what's going on? TCAL, so since 1900, sea level in New York City has risen by about 12 inches and is projected to continue to increase as much as 5.4 feet by 2100. Yeah, they'll have to build the seawalls a little bit higher, I guess. There's one thing I do know for certain. There's only one thing in this life that is absolutely certain, and it's that nobody knows anything for certain. What do you think about that? There's one thing in this life that we all know that's certain, and that's nobody knows anything for certain. So we just have to adapt, right? Humans are very good adapters. So I think the frame should be, we have to be relentless solutions focused, right? But you can't be paralyzed by the fear and say, I read this study that, you know, the world's going to end because of climate change, and then we just sit and are depressed. I mean, if we're lucky, you know, on this earth, guys, if we're lucky, we have 60 years. If you make it past 60, you're lucky, right? You're really, really lucky. If you make it to 80, it's like you hit the lottery. So, look, worry about things that you can control and control the controllable and risk mitigate for the rest, and take calculated risks and try not to get too roped up in the fear porn. That's really the only thing I could say. And I may not be right. Maybe I'm going about it the wrong way, but who knows?
Like
602 says, are you certain about that? I'm actually not. That's the thing. One of my favorite shots is right here. Central Park Tower, 220 Central Park South. I love it. It's 53 degrees out and it feels like it's 70. But if it was 53 degrees in South Florida, it would be absolutely like shivering. I'm excited. I mean, this is, I'm getting really, really excited for the spring and the summer. Hey, Dante Rose, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. And you know what? You know, not to hammer on the climate change subject, but it is very possible, everybody. And I know many of you are going to say, okay, this guy's BS. But guys, it is very possible that we are an interplanetary species faster than we could have ever imagined. Did anybody see the recent SpaceX launch the other day? Like, that is a reality. I mean, you know, a lot of people think that these are pie in the sky, you know, wishful thinking. Oh, we're going to be an interplanetary species. Oh, that's ridiculous. No, no, no. Like, you got to lean into that. It is very possible that before the time that I die, right? Please God, it's no time soon. We could be just starting to colonize Mars. You know, I've always liked to use this term, follow the money. Everybody has been talking about how Jeff Bezos has been selling billions of dollars worth of Amazon stock, but they don't go forward. They just say, oh, Jeff Bezos is selling billions of dollars worth of Amazon stock. Amazon the company must be going to zero sometime soon. No. Do you guys know why he is selling so much stock? He said it multiple times. Because his goal is to compete with SpaceX, invest all of his time, energy, and resources in the Blue Origin, and become an interplanetary species. And if there's anybody who could do that and make that a reality, it's Elon Musk and it's Bezos, right? So maybe that's the plan, right? Maybe you're right. Maybe Florida will be underwater. Maybe New York City will be underwater. But then maybe there'll be a booming economy and we could build on another planet. Didn't think about that. Hey, Western Mass Dave, thank you so much for your generous $5 donation. This is Tom, you keep me positive and grounded. P.S. Your book is on the way. Hey, Dave, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll take a look at it, and I'll definitely read it in the office 100%. Oh, you know what? I just found out 2 days ago we're getting a different office. But I'll still get the book, but Dave, thank you so much. Appreciate you. All right, let's head down. We'll go down Broadway. Hey, FB says happy Friday, Tom. Currently watching your stream. Oops, lost the comment. No better way to end the night. Thank you so much, FB. Yeah, the stream, we're talking about a lot of things tonight. We started with consumer sentiment. Then we started to talk about, becoming an interplanetary species. It's a very diverse stream tonight, for sure. All right, so we have just crossed southbound on 57th Street. Now this building you see right in front of us, this is 157 West 57th Street. That's the first building ever constructed on New York City's Billionaires Row. And if you want to see a property tour of the last available sponsor unit, just go ahead and type ! 57 in the chat, and it'll drop that link. And just a quick reminder for everybody, yesterday was Thursday, so we did send out our free investing research piece where we talked about a lot of things, and we talked about things that we usually don't talk about, particularly the fiscal policy side. We always hammer on monetary policy, but we talked about fiscal policy. We did a complete deep dive, essentially did an audit of the US Treasury's intake and outflows for the month of February. And there was some quite disturbing things in that on that statement. We took in about $120 billion worth of taxes, which sounds good, but we spent about $76 billion not on Social Security, not on Medicare, right? Not on our veterans, right? Not on trying to solve the crazy homelessness in the United States. We spent it on servicing the interest on the national debt. So we've sort of reached an inflection point here where fiscal spending continues to ramp while the cost of money also continues to ramp and stay elevated. So is that the only thing that will force the Federal Reserve to pivot and drop interest rates, even though federal policy, right, fiscal policy is not supposed to influence monetary policy? They are totally separate entities, but we need to be realists here. So if you want to see that full breakdown, feel free to scan the QR code and punch in your email, and we publish to our Substack every other Thursday. Very, very important stuff. Hey, hang with Mark Mom, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Peter says, who owns most of the debt? China owns a lot of it. China owns a big, large swath of it. Other nations too. Annie Blue says hello, what's up? I'm sure as we head closer to Times Square, there's going to be so many people out tonight since it's quite warm. Hey Pete, what's going on from the Catskills? Thanks so much for joining us. Across southbound here. The building to the left used to be the old Bad Boy Entertainment or Bad Boy Worldwide, which was Sean Combs' record company, but it's set for demolition. So it says the winter of 2024, this will be totally demoed. I'm not too sure what they're going to be building here. I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of mixed-use building, probably condos. Now, what does everybody think of this TikTok ban? I have my thoughts and opinions on it, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I think things are going to get interesting. That's what I'll say. I think things are going to get really interesting. Assuming this actually really goes through. All right, everybody. Here is the Ed Sullivan Theater, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Dave says no opinion. My opinion shifted a little bit. My opinion's gone a little bit back and forth. Robert says TikTok is spyware. Yeah, I mean, it has very much, I mean, I don't have it. I think it's, no bueno. But the problem is the influence it has on young people. That's the problem. And if the CCP really has control over it, which I personally believe they do, then hold on, let me get away from this guy. Anytime I encounter just severely like very, very blatant, obvious, severely mental individuals in the city now, you got to get away from them. You never know, man. After the stuff that happened on the subway yesterday, I mean, man, you never know. I attribute it to playing Russian roulette. Most times you walk past these people and it's fine, but you could be the unlucky person. You walk past them, and they blow the brains out of the back of your skull. So you just want to keep it moving from those people. And especially if you're on a subway car with one of those irate people screaming, hollering, it's just get off at the next stop, even if you're late for work. I mean, you can't take any chances nowadays. Anyway, but I do think that the CCP has control over it, and I think they're influencing many different political, I should say, decisions that Americans make, and they're having significant influence over that. But I do think if you outright ban it, it's going to be a slippery slope on competition, like who can compete, who can't compete. So I actually don't know the solution for that. Are they going to spin off and sell to an American company? Probably not. I think mainland China is already talking about some retaliatory actions they could potentially take. But after thinking it over, whoa, look at this. The Stardust Diner has a line wrapping all the way around the block. That's insane. Now, this is a little bit of anecdotal data for consumer sentiment. It's a Friday night in New York. It seems like there's a ton of tourists out, which is good news. Yeah, but I think censorship leads us down a very, very slippery slope, right? Because then, Congress could, use that to say, oh, well, we banned TikTok, so now we could ban this, we could ban that. I don't know. It's a sticky situation. It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. Or maybe we just have to accept it, right? Wow, Times Square is crazy tonight. Look at all these people. This is about as packed as I've ever seen it in Times Square. Wow, it's so packed tonight. Someone says they're using the TikTok ban as a distraction from the real issues. Maybe, but I think that is one of a big issue, right? If you have something that has that big a reach, and if you have a foreign government that controls it, that's communist, that could very easily influence the way people think, I think it's a big issue, but I'm not too sure how to solve it. I actually don't have the answers. I thought I did. At one point, I was very, very outspoken about a pure ban, but then I'm like, this is probably a slippery slope. Hey, Pete, thank you so much for your $1 donation. I appreciate you very, very much. Hopefully you have a wonderful weekend. One of the things we wrote about yesterday in the newsletter was that all of the leading indicators, right? So if we think about hospitality sector, that's actually been an outperforming group in the market. Hilton hotels, Hyatt, Wynn Resorts, are all doing really well and trading near all-time record highs. The CEO of Hilton came out and said they expect business travel to be back 100%. And then you have crude oil breaking back above $80 a barrel. Just in time for the busy travel season, spring and in the summer. Now, it's not even the spring yet, guys, and it's a Friday night in New York and you have so many tourists out. So the question is, by the end of the summer, do we see crude oil trading back at $100 a barrel, yes or no? That's the question. We're currently at $81 a barrel now. I mean, the demand seems to be there. do we see crude rally at least to $90 or $100 a barrel for the summer? And I guess a follow-up question for the group would be, is anybody planning on going on a vacation this summer? Are you going to travel, let's say, more than 200 miles away from your house with family or friends? Just to kind of gauge the demand for vacations. I think, in my personal opinion, I think this summer is going to scream in New York City. I think on these live streams you'll be able to see it live. You're going to see more people than you've ever seen in New York City this summer, even more than pre-pandemic. That's my prediction. I think the pent-up demand is there. I think everybody now feels comfortable coming back to the city. They want to see it. They want to do all the tourist stuff. They want to go to Central Park. And, unemployment's very, very low. So I think tourism is going to surprise in a major way. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? This is 49th Street. We're looking into the midst of Times Square. Lillis is, yep. Oh wow, Poto says you're going to Europe. Very cool. Chuck Rumsford, that's insane. I didn't know that. Dewey says 100% yes, even though inflation is high. Now, Dewey, that's the main problem, right? Because we just heard from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that reported CPI this week. It came in at 3.2%, and 60% of the entire inflation move, right? 60% of the entire inflationary move was attributed to shelter costs and gasoline. So if we have a robust travel season this summer and we have crude oil going gangbusters to $100 a barrel, I mean, that's lights out. You can wish the June rate cut a goodbye. I mean, it's a wrap. It's over. So it's like a double-edged sword, right? If you really have a wave of demand for travel, both domestic and international, you could see crude absolutely scream this summer. And inflation, unfortunately, will also go up. I'm not saying that's going to happen 100%, but, look at crude oil futures right now. Ticker symbol CL. We're now back above the 200-day. It looks like it's bottoming out. I don't know, any thoughts? Anybody disagree? Maybe it won't get to $100 a barrel, but maybe we'll get to 90, right? We're at 82 right now. Hello 69 says, Tom, I'm going cruising for the first time. Oh, cool. John says, I think not, truckers boycotting. Very little goods available. Number one, there's no trucker boycott. But number two, if there was, that would actually be an even bigger case, I should say, confirmation case for inflationary pressures. If there's scarcity of food, very little product available, well, by basic supply and demand, you would have then food screaming and going up and to the right as well. All right, let's head towards Radio City and then we'll double back. Wow, a lot of people are going on cruises. Interesting. Cool. Very nice. Peter says my oil stocks are doing very well. Well, ExxonMobil and Chevron, right? Those two companies, ExxonMobil and Chevron, they make up about 40% of the XLE. And that's another thing we wrote about. So if you guys want to kind of follow along and look at the infographics, you could look at all the charts and you could look at all the data that we're talking to. I mean, it's a short shot to new all-time record highs for energy. So I think this is something we need to be paying attention to because it's been a 2-year bear market in crude oil, right? This is Del Frisco's. Love this place. Speaking of a bull market, Del Frisco's is where it's at. I love this restaurant. But we've had a 2-year bear market in crude. This might be of the price action here. ExxonMobil has performed very well over the past 2 weeks. That's going for new all-time record highs again. And Chevron, if those two stocks break out into new highs, I think you're going to see new highs in the XLE. We'll see. Jim L says, Tom, hotels have become very expensive over the last 3 years. I definitely agree with you, Jim. If anybody is visiting New York City this summer, and you're staying on the island of Manhattan in Midtown, I would be very surprised if you can get a hotel room for under $250. I mean, things are expensive. Also in Miami too, which has really surprised me. I thought Miami was going to cool a little bit. It didn't. But everybody, Del Frisco's is one of my favorite steakhouses in New York. Not because it has the best food, by the way, because it doesn't have the best food. It has good food, but not the best. The environment in here is unmatched. It's an amazing environment. If you're on a work trip with coworkers in New York City, just take my advice and book a table here and request to be on the second floor. There's 2 floors. If you sit on the second floor here, you have unobstructed views of Radio City Music Hall and 30 Rock, Rockefeller Center. SoCal Lawrence says, hey Tom, do you like the W hotel chains? I think they're okay. I don't usually stay at the W, but I've been in them many times. The W in Brickell is very nice. I was actually looking at some condos in the Icon Brickell, which is like the W hotel and tower, which is cool. I don't know, if I'm gonna stay in hotels, I like Hyatt. I like Hyatt's brand. This is all brand new here too. What about you guys, everybody in the chat? If you had to pick a specific hotel brand that you'd want to stay at, what do you think? Is it Marriott? Is it Sheraton? Is it Hyatt? Hey, Vinny says New York State Comptroller is divesting Exxon in retirement accounts because they are not getting out of the oil business fast enough. Ha! That's nuts. These people are crazy. I'll bite my tongue on that. Hey, Stephanie says Marriott. Teresa says Hilton. Wow, Ali Star says Amman. Wow, Amman, New York is awesome. Someone says Trump. Trump has great hotels. I like Trump hotels too. Hotel Edison. Hard Rock. I've seen a lot of Marriotts. Joel PM says the Ritz. Ritz-Carlton, very nice. Pineapple Water says Mandarin Oriental is consistently good. Yeah, Mandarin Oriental is really nice. I've never stayed at the Mandarin Oriental though, Pineapple Water. DWG says I use Hyatt. Now, it's summer when you have this long line for Adele's Famous. For those of you who don't know, this is one of the best halal food spots. Sharon says I got to check out the Equinox Hotel at Hudson Yards. That one I hear is absolutely insane. I think it's like $900 a night. This is probably a 3-hour line. I wonder how much money they take in a night. I wouldn't be surprised if they've taken over $10,000 a night. All right, everybody, this is News Corporation right here. So News Corp, they own Fox News, The Wall Street Journal, Investors Business Daily, and Barron's. Now, we briefly spoke about this yesterday, but nothing is sealed. The deal isn't sealed just yet, but a newspaper publication that we often discuss on the live stream, Investors Business Daily, that was founded by William J. O'Neill. News Corporation acquired them for about $275 million. I may come on board as a markets writer for IBD. So hopefully soon we will get something solidified. And if you read Investors Business Daily, you might see my articles published there. But it'll probably, oh, it's a nice Tesla taxi there. But it'll probably be one-off articles that are larger, kind of like research pieces that are structured very differently than the traditional piece. We might want to bring about a new segment that's more focused on sector, kind of, top-down, bottom-up, more like structured investment framework stuff. So we'll see. That's almost complete there. And the IBD team is awesome. I've known them for years, particularly a lot of the PMs, the portfolio managers at O'Neill Security & Co. And I love writing. And I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be a great fit. So. All right, West 46th Street. Let's make this right and try to go into the heart. Of Times Square. Yeah, Hang with Mark Moms is all financial workers subscribe and have Investors Daily at the office or inside the bank back in my day. It's a great publication, and I'm excited. Hopefully we can get it done. We will get it done. It's just going to take a few more tweaks. What I'm really pitching them, by the way, to kind of let you guys in the know, I think they need to have a more robust radio talk show on IBD. Like they have Investing with IBD, which is a great show, but I think it needs to be a little bit more interactive and more structured. And legacy media, I would say IBD is more entrepreneurial than most, legacy media outlets, newspapers. So they're more receptive to feedback. But I think you could really take that company and just totally blow it up. They need to double down on video and, make it more interactive with the audience. Things like that. That is one of my favorite podcasts, if you want to check it out. It's called Investing with IBD. But I think a big miss there, right? So O'Neill Securities, they sell institutional equity research to pretty much all the top funds on Wall Street. So they have the network, they have the relationship already. There should be a sit-down, table talk interview with these managers, right? At their offices. So maybe they visit Pershing Square, they do a sit-down interview with Ackman, right? How do they incorporate IBD or just whatever, right? About the general markets. Maybe they go to Fortress Investments, have a sit-down there, talk to some of the PMs. That is a very interesting content format. That's the pitch. We'll see if we can make it happen. Wow. Wow, guys, beautiful Empire State Building here. I wonder why it's lit up in blue. Does anybody want to Google that real quick? This is an amazing color scheme here. Yeah, tree con, I did notice that too. Eric Adams does seem to be shifting his tide here a little bit. Anyone know why the blue for the Empire tonight? It's not only the Empire, actually. It's one Vanderbilt too. But if you guys have been enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Oh, Laytha, what's up? Says is it the National Book Foundation? Really? Huh. Well, there you have it. The National Book Foundation. Fascinating. All right, we're crossing over by Mark Benioff, Salesforce. Had a decent quarter, by the way. If you look all the way up at this building over there, you can see that guy outside on his balcony. Could you imagine living at the very, very top of that tower, overlooking Bryant Park? That's an awesome view. Hey, Carl Roth, what's going on? Well, a lot of the non-farm payroll stuff kind of veering off course a little bit. A lot of those numbers are revised down. But today we heard from the University of Michigan, we got the consumer sentiment report out. Sentiment dropped again, month over month, and it came in below expectations too. Some people are saying it's for the FDN or NYCFC home opener. I guess it's either one or the other. Speaking of the TikTok ban, this is the Bank of China. Five Bryant Park. We'll cross over to Broadway. Now, if the city's this packed tonight, yesterday was the perfect day to walk over the Brooklyn Bridge. You probably can't even move up there tonight. There's so many people. Hey, good to see our viewers from Brazil. Welcome, welcome. This is Times Square Station. You can get the NQR WS trains, and if you continue to walk over, you'll be at the Port Authority bus terminal. Now we're gonna walk all the way across because we're gonna check out Hell's Kitchen tonight. I think Hell's Kitchen is gonna be on fire. Very fun neighborhood. You have bars, restaurants. You also have Restaurant Row in New York City. So let's go all the way to 9th. $99 pizza shop. Oh, speaking of car horns, so when I stopped the live stream last night, I had to go back to the office and do some work, and I was out late. This was probably like 1:30 in the morning, and I see this most crazy, ridiculous hit and run accident I think I've ever seen in my life. It was crazier than the one on Thanksgiving. There were these two cars. It looked like they had road rage, or they were fighting each other. It was probably some sort of gang violence. This was all the way on the east side of Manhattan. And this guy comes flying around the corner at about 70 miles an hour. There's a Volvo parked on the street, and this guy just obliterates this Volvo. And it was garbage night, so you had all the garbage bags piled up right here. And it throws the Volvo all the way on top of the garbage bags and just totally obliterates the side of the car. It was wild. I didn't get it on video, unfortunately. But if you want to see it on Twitter, if you go on our Twitter, @WalksWallStreet, I took a picture of the car. Now, could you imagine that poor guy or girl coming out at 3 o'clock in the morning after they parked their car there, and they see their Volvo with the side totally bashed in, and it's on the sidewalk, right? I mean, the car hit the Volvo with such force that it smoked the car all the way on the sidewalk. It's crazy. It was something out of Grand Theft Auto, I swear. It was insane. And the guy took off, didn't stop, just slammed it, knocked it up on the sidewalk, and took off. That's why you gotta watch it when you're crossing the street. You never know. I know, Brawlix says at least they weren't in it. You know, and some of these stories I tell, a lot of people think I'm bullshitting, right? I swear, man, all these crazy stories are 100% true, nothing fabricated. Like the one on Thanksgiving, I mean, we just so happened to be live streaming and caught that one on video, but many other crazy stuff. You know, it's a big city. You know, late at night, you can encounter some wild stuff. All right, this is the New York Times building. This is adjacent the Port Authority bus terminal. I gotta pull off to the side here to charge the phone, so bear with us. All right, I gotta put you guys down by all these cigarettes here. All right, we're back in action. Maybe a little bit windy now, because you can see the buses from New Jersey pulling in the terminal. Okay, let's head up and over to the left. But right here is the New York Times. You can see the logo on the side. Oh, no way. Layla, this is Tom. My old apartment was right there, 42nd Street and 9. Wow. I don't know how you lived here. I give you credit. That's cool. Hey, the Wizard, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Wow, look at this Microsoft cube up here. Now, we've done a full, I should say, 4K, 60 frames a second walking tour of the brand new Penn Station. It's called the Penn 2 Project, and I think it looks awesome. Now, there's some preliminary plans of the city to completely revamp the Port Authority bus terminal. And I think that's going to bring up a lot of the property values here. Because nobody right now wants to live near the Port Authority, but I think if you can make it safer, open, more modern, you're really going to do the city justice. Because look, we'll turn around, I'll show you the facade. It just really, it's an eyesore. It sticks out from the rest of the buildings. It kind of looks like a prison, the facade, right? You just see all these buses coming in. I think it needs to be taller. I think it needs to have an open atrium glass facade. And I think the whole thing needs to come down. That's my view. If they knock the whole thing down and make like a huge glass atrium, I think that'll be 2 thumbs up. This is where a lot of the food delivery bicycle people stash their bikes here. This is 43rd Street. We're going to go 2 more blocks and then we're going to bang a left. But if you guys are enjoying the stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. And click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams every night starting at 8:30.
we'll take a detour down here. This is the Intercontinental Hotel. Speaking of hotels. NAV says, what would you do with the buses during the construction? I would say reroute them. You know, maybe, I mean, that's gonna be, you're just gonna have to deal with it, I guess. Or maybe reroute and then have them drop you off outside of the Jacob Javits Center, which is on 34th Street. I don't know what you would do. You could possibly merge the Megabus terminal, which is just outside the Javits Center, with the Jersey Transit, but that's gonna, I mean, inconvenience a lot of people from New Jersey. But at the end of the day, that place has got to come down. It's not, you know, if it should come down, it's, you know, when are we scheduling the demolition? That's kind of my mindset. Because in there's really no retail. You need people to be able to come into the Port Authority for other reasons than going to get the bus. And if you've been in there, it looks like, you know, everything is very old. You know, it's just, it's notorious for drug running. You need an open, modern, multi-use purpose. Kind of what they're doing with 2 Penn, right? Or Penn 2. Penn 2, they have offices. They're gonna have mixed use. They're gonna have quick service restaurants. That's what you need to have at the Port Authority to give alternative options to kind of get all those bad actors out of there, right? So what if there was a Target in there? What if there was a Trader Joe's, right? That's going to attract more people that are not just going there to get the bus and that are not just going there to run drugs or, you know, deal fentanyl. So, and that's exactly what they've done with the Penn 2 project. You could use that as a model. Look at the Moynihan Train Hall, right? There's bars in there. There's a Duane Reade. There's what's that restaurant that I like? Actually, I don't like it, but it's next to a restaurant I like. Jacob's Pickle. You know, that's on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. There's a location in the Moynihan Train Hall now. You just need to have mixed use. Hey, Brad, what's going on? We were just talking about the UMich consumer sentiment survey today. And then we're gonna do a whole deep dive on Sunday. I'm gonna spend like 4 hours going through a lot of charts here. But you're starting to see some of the big true market leaders pull back here, right? I think we need to use the 50-day as our guide. This is when we need to be paying very, very close attention to the market, because you're gonna have stocks correcting here and starting to build bases over the spring. And we need to be paying close attention to which stocks are getting supported by institutions, which ones are getting rotated out. I like to call it the basketball underwater, so to speak. Right, which stocks are they selling down and which ones are bucking the trend during the sell-off? Is kind of what I say. But good to see you, Brad. We're gonna check out Hell's Kitchen again. I think it's a pretty underexplored neighborhood for the stream. And there's a lot of fun stuff here. I believe that was Ruby's. That's like a very famous bar and grill. I think they're known for their hot dogs, I think. More like a college bar kind of too, right? Now, Brad, I know you're a big Palantir guy, so I'll ask you the following question. Did you see the interview? It wasn't really an interview, actually. It was more just like a quick Q&A or a statement on CNBC. The CEO of Palantir said the only reason why his stock is going down is because short sellers on Wall Street need to pay for their cocaine, to use his words. I think he's a bit delusional. It was hilarious to watch that live. But yeah, he's definitely one of those CEOs that has been attacked by short sellers, and it seems as if he's a little bit frustrated. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about that. Yeah, I'm gonna, as you know, I'm gonna steer clear until we can, you know, get through that overhead. It's been a laggard. You know, it's been, I think it was one of the most overhyped IPOs. And usually those take some time to gain traction. I think there's gonna be a lot of turnover. So I'm at it. I don't have a position in it. I know, Brad's car cracked me up. Imagine saying that on CNBC Live. Like, yeah, all these short sellers on Wall Street, the only reason why they're short in our stock is because they have to pay for their cocaine addiction. Interesting choice of words from the CEO. Quite hilarious in nature, for sure. Now, this is a cool kind of perspective. You can see, this is Central Park Tower right here. That one right there. Yeah, Chuck Rumford. Which is rubies for the All-American and a hot dog. You know, there's a place out on Long Island in Massapequa. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar, but it's this burger joint called All-American. It's very good. If you're ever out east on Long Island, if you're going to Jones Beach, it's a great spot to hit after the beach. Chaz says, are AI stocks overhyped or worth the buy? Well, it depends on what you mean by AI stocks. I wrote an article about a month ago. Kind of, I used an interesting analogy. I'm really equating this AI movement to the gold rush in California, right? Now, not everybody during the gold rush made money, but, well, I should reframe it. Not everybody that went to California to mine gold made money, but all of the businesses who were selling the shovels and the pickaxes, all of them made a fortune. So if you want to be a little risk averse, I should say, but you want to try to gain exposure to AI, you know, maybe you could just get long a semiconductor ETF, because semiconductors are going to be the backbone of this move. But a lot of those semiconductor stocks have made their move. They're already up and out. I think a lot of them are going to correct, and that's what's important, right? I believe this is leg one of a bull. So usually in the first inning of a bull market, the leaders are already up and out, right? And if you've been reading the newsletter, we already know what the TMLs are. Those are going to pull back to the 50. There should be a rotation in the tier 2 or tier 3 names, and that is when these TMLs will start to base out again, right? Assuming that's over the spring, and then we could have a nice rally through the summer. You know, not a perfect world, but that's kind of what I'm modeling. Doesn't mean I'm going to be right, but there's a lot of pessimism. There's a lot of people that think this is, you know, like another 2000 style bubble. You know, I don't think that, but we'll see. Earnings estimates for the S&P over the next 2 years, they look pretty good. However, that's going to be very contingent on monetary policy. I don't think businesses necessarily need a cut. I don't think they care, to be honest. And we know that by looking at the ISM manufacturing PMI numbers. They just want to make sure that rates aren't going to go up anymore. So if Fed Chair Jerome Powell doesn't blunder this, I think he should hold tight. I don't think he should cut, because if he does cut, I think that's going to let inflation out the bag again, and we're probably going to have a second wave of inflation, and then you're going to have to do what Paul Volcker did and raise interest rates to 20% to kill inflation, and then that's going to kill the economy and crash the market. So I think Fed Chair Jerome Powell is a smart guy. I don't think he's going to cut in the summer, even though that's what the futures markets are predicting. And I think he's going to engineer a soft landing. But again, that's just my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. And that's actually what I'm hoping for, right? I don't think anybody's hoping for a recession. I mean, unless that's kind of what gets you off. So there's a dollar here that's all crumpled up, but I don't want to take the bait and pick it up, so I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, chat. Now look, I think you're going to see things get frothy, but that's kind of what happens in bulls. I mean, there's still analysts on Wall Street that believe this is a bear market rally. I mean, I don't know any bear market rally that the bear market lasts for 2 years in duration. You had individual stocks get clobbered 70+%, and then you emerge out of a 2-year base and rip into new all-time record highs. I've never heard of that being a bear market rally in my life, but there's still a lot of negative sentiment. I wrote another article way back in the day. If you guys can look at all of my archived research for free. We publish our Substack every other Thursday, right as the market closes. If you scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, you can have a look at it. Everybody's been saying that the bear market that we've just emerged out of hasn't been severe. I totally disagree. That was one of the most brutal bear markets we've ever had since the 2008 financial crisis. It's just that the indices have been masking the damage under the hood in the market. If you look at all of these high beta growth stocks, right, a lot of the SaaS, software as a service, all those kind of stocks, guys, they went down 90%. And that's not an exaggeration. I'm not saying, oh, they went down 90%. No, they went down 90%. And some of them are still down, right? Zoom never recovered. That was a huge bubble. I think that's still down like 90 or 85%. You know, a lot of the tier 3 cybersecurity stocks are still down 70+%, like Okta. So there was a massive washout in the market. Like, things got pounded in a really big way. And you could even say there's been damage that's been done right now in the market in some of the previous true market leaders. You know, look at Tesla. Tesla is trading well below its 200-day. I think that thing's off over 50% from all-time record highs. So, you know, you just have these rotations in the market. But since the S&P is very top-heavy, right? You have Microsoft is the #1 weighting, I think at over 8%. You have, could actually somebody look that up? If you go to slickcharts.com, once again, that's slickcharts.com, you can look at the S&P by weight. I believe Microsoft makes up the largest weighting at over 7%. Then you have Apple. So, you know, if you have the top 10 stocks in the S&P accounting for 40% of the index, you know, that's going to mask a lot of the damage under the hood in some of the smaller companies. I mean, look at how much the Russell 2000 corrected, right? If you look at that ETF, IWM. So there was some damage there. So, you know, I think this is inning 1 of the bull. That's my bet. Boys United says Jesus wants you. I hope he does. Honestly, I really do. I mean, I would be disappointed if he didn't want me. I mean, that would probably destroy my whole Friday night. All right, let's cross over to the left. And we'll go back up to 59th because I have to get up there anyway. This Mi Soup place that you see right here, I used to go here all the time. Now, once they renovated it, the quality of the food went down, actually. All right, let me catch up on some of the chats. Yeah, Chazzy says some investors make a lot of money during recessions. For sure. I mean, that's kind of when you have those big generational opportunities, right? And I think we're in one of those. I think we're emerging from a major bear. Wow, look at this. It's a pretty cool view of Central Park Tower, right? Wow. We've already been streaming for 2 hours, guys. Where did the time go? I guess time flies when you're having fun. Well, we are at the 2-hour mark, and I gotta cut you guys loose, but I wanna wish everybody a very blessed and happy weekend. Take the time to recover, relax, and yeah, if you enjoyed the live stream, feel free to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We do these streams every night starting at 8:30. If you want to subscribe to our free investing newsletter, Behind the Street, you can scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email. We cover US equities, emerging markets, fixed income, and New York City real estate. If you want to see some interesting property tours of some of the most luxurious properties in the city, take a look at the Behind the Street newsletter. We'll see you guys over there. So Dale, appreciate it. Patrick, New York, as always. Waltrey, Baker, 405. Sunshine NYC and Sunshine After Rain, T-Cal, I appreciate it. Abdullah, Muhammad, Sally, Hang with Mark Mom, Ali Star, Pineapple Water. Guys, have a great weekend, and we'll see you here live tomorrow night. Maybe we'll go to Stone Street tomorrow night, and then have a walk all the way over to the Lower East Side. Anyway, all right, guys, take care. Western Mass Dave gets the last goodbye.